There is a sentence in the Bible that should stop us cold. But David remained at Jerusalem. 7 words. No thunder, no warning. It is spring, the season when kings go out to war. The army is already gone. The tents are pitched outside the walls of Rabbah. The Ark of the Covenant is out there in the dust with them, and the king is at home. We usually tell this story as if it began with a woman on a rooftop. It did not. It began with a king who stopped going where kings were supposed to go, because the man we are about to watch is not a stranger to God. He is the shepherd who faced the giant. He is the one Scripture calls a man after God's own heart. And within a single chapter, he will become a voyeur, an adulterer, and a murderer. The question is not, how could he? The question is, what exactly broke, and can it be repaired? We like to imagine the fall as an accident. One glance, one bad night. The text does not let us. Long before the rooftop, there was a law about kings. In Deuteronomy, Moses set limits on any future king of Israel. He must not multiply horses or silver and gold, and he must not multiply wives, because his heart would turn away. That was the reason given, not politics, the heart. David had been quietly ignoring that limit for 20 years. Wife after wife, alliance after alliance, every marriage a treaty. Nobody called it sin. It looked like statecraft. But a man does not wake up one morning able to take another man's wife. He practices, for decades, in small, respectable ways. The Hebrew word for staying behind is yashab. It does not mean he was delayed. It means he settled. He sat down. He made himself comfortable in the one place he was not supposed to be. Samuel had warned Israel what such a king would become. He said, "This king will take your sons. He will take your daughters. He will take your fields. Take, take, take." In 2 Samuel 11, that warning stops being a prophecy. It becomes a biography. The Hebrew narrative moves through 3 verbs. Watch them. He saw. He inquired. He took. Each one is a door, and each door closes behind him. He saw. Ra-ah. The word can mean a passing glance, but the sentence does not stop there. The text adds that the woman was very beautiful to look upon. That phrase turns a glance into a gaze. He did not stumble upon her. He kept looking. And notice where he is standing, the roof of the palace, the highest point in the city. From up there, everyone below becomes small. Everyone becomes scenery. The Bible also tells us something the king apparently did not consider. She was purifying herself after her monthly cycle, exactly as the law of Moses required. That detail matters. It tells us she was a woman careful to obey God. The most obedient person in the scene is the one being watched. He inquired. Darash. Now the second door. The word darash is not a casual term in the Hebrew Bible. It is a spiritual word. It is the word for inquiring of the Lord, asking heaven what to do. Here, for the first time, he inquires, but not of God. He sends his staff to research a woman, and the answer comes back as a warning wrapped in a name. Is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriel the Hittite? A father, a husband, a people. The message is, she belongs to a family. Stop. David hears it, and treats it as paperwork. That is the fundamental problem with this king. Not that he felt desire, that he had stopped asking God anything. The machinery of his kingdom was still running perfectly. The machinery of his conscience had been switched off. He took laqach, the third door. And David sent messengers, and took her. Laqach, to take, to seize. It is the exact verb Samuel used when he warned Israel what a king would do to them. There is no conversation, no courtship, not one recorded word from her. Hebrew scholars note that when take is paired with lie with, outside of marriage, the Bible reserves that pairing for scenes of violation. Could she have refused? She is a soldier's wife. He is the king. The messengers are already at the door. Her silence is not agreement. it is powerlessness. Then comes the shortest, heaviest line in the chapter. And she returned to her house. No name, no voice, no protection. And then 3 words that end the king's private world. I am pregnant. The sin itself takes 4 verses. The cover-up takes 20 because the real horror is not a moment of weakness. It is a calm, organized working week of murder. David sends for Uriah, the husband, from the front. Go home, he says. Wash your feet. Rest. And Uriah will not go. He sleeps at the palace gate, on the ground, with the servants. Asked why, his answer is theological. The ark is in a tent. Israel and Judah are in tents. My commander is sleeping in an open field. Shall I then go to my house, to eat and drink and lie with my wife? Soldiers on holy campaign were to keep themselves ritually pure. That was the law. Uriah is keeping a law the king has forgotten he ever read. And here is the detail that should unsettle us. Uriah is a Hittite, a foreigner, a convert. His name means Yahweh is my light. The outsider is more faithful to Israel's God than Israel's anointed king. So David tries again. He throws a dinner. He gets him drunk. And a drunk soldier still has more integrity than a sober king. Uriah sleeps at the gate again. So the king writes a letter. Put him in the front line, where the fighting is hardest. Then pull back from him. Then he seals it. And he hands it to Uriah. The man carries his own death warrant across the desert because he can be trusted. To make one death look like an accident, Joab orders a reckless attack close to the city wall. 18 other men die with Uriah. Names we do not have, families we never meet. The messenger returns to Jerusalem, and the king says this, "Do not let this thing displease you. The sword devours one as well as another." The boy who once fought a lion to protect one sheep now calls dead soldiers a statistic. That is what the fall actually looked like. Not passion, numbness. The chapter ends with the first line of commentary in the whole story. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. And then nothing happens. For about a year, nothing happens. The most dangerous silence in the Bible is the one after a sin nobody caught. Then God sends a prophet. Nathan does not walk in and accuse him. That would be suicide. An ancient king could execute a prophet before the prophet finished his sentence. So Nathan uses a tool scholars call a juridical parable, a made-up legal case brought to a judge, so the judge convicts himself before he knows what he is judging. He tells a story about 2 men in one city, a rich man with enormous flocks, a poor man with one little ewe lamb, and Nathan lingers on that lamb. It ate from his plate. It drank from his cup. It slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Every one of those phrases comes from the language of adoption in the ancient world. The Hebrew word for daughter is bat. The woman's name is Bathsheba. Bathsheba. The prophet is whispering her name to us while hiding her from the king. Then a traveler arrives, and the rich man will not touch his own flock. He takes the poor man's lamb and serves it. David explodes. As the Lord lives, the man who has done this deserves to die, and he shall restore the lamb fourfold. Under the law of Moses, stealing an animal was never a capital crime. Fourfold restitution, yes, that comes straight from the book of Exodus. But death, that is a man shouting to drown something out. He has just passed sentence on himself, twice. And Nathan answers with 3 words in Hebrew, Ata ha-ish, you are the man. David answers with 1 sentence, and not 1 word of it is an excuse. I have sinned against the Lord. He does not blame Bathsheba for bathing. He does not blame Joab for following orders. He does not ask to keep his reputation. That is what the phrase, a man after God's own heart, actually means. It never meant a man who did not fall. It meant a man who, when God speaks, does not argue. Nathan answers immediately. The Lord also has put away your sin. You shall not die. The Hebrew behind put away is hi'avir, literally, caused to pass over, transferred, which is a careful way of saying something hard. Forgiveness moved the guilt. It did not delete the consequences. Because Nathan had more to say. The sword shall never depart from your house. The Hebrew behind never means for as long as time runs, and it is not a curse invented out of anger. It is the fourfold restitution David demanded. Arriving one son at a time, the child born of that night dies within a week. Then Amnon, his firstborn, sees his half-sister Tamar, pretends to be ill, isolates her, and rapes her. His father's crime is copied in his father's house. And David does nothing. He is angry and silent. And there is a reason he cannot act. A father who has done the same thing has no words left. Absalom kills Amnon, and later takes the throne. And on the roof of his father's palace, that same roof, he takes David's wives in front of all Israel. What was done in one hidden room is repaid in public daylight. The man who advised Absalom to do it was Ahithophel, the king's most trusted counselor. Trace the genealogies, and you find why. Ahithophel was Bathsheba's grandfather. He had waited more than a decade for that revenge. Absalom dies in a forest. Adonijah dies later, reaching for the crown. 4 sons, fourfold. The king's own sentence, paid to the last coin. Forgiveness was real. So was the wreckage. Both are true, and the Bible refuses to let go of either one. And somewhere inside all of that, David sits down and writes. We call it Psalm 51. It begins with 3 words for sin, not 1. 3, because 1 was not enough. Pesha, rebellion. In the ancient world, the word for a nation breaking a treaty, treason. Avon, twistedness. The word pictures something bent out of shape. A crooked spine, a warped road. Chata'ath, missing the mark. The arrow that falls short of what a human being was made for. Treason, distortion, failure. And against those 3, he sets 2 words about God. Hesed, stubborn, loyal love that keeps its promise after the other side has broken theirs. Rahamim, mercy. The word comes from the Hebrew word for womb, a mother's compassion for the child of her own body. He asks God to blot out his record, to scrub him like soiled cloth, to declare him clean the way a healed leper was declared clean. Then comes the verse that troubles people. Against you, you only, have I sinned. Which sounds monstrous. Uriah is in a grave. In the ancient world, the king was the highest court. No judge could summon him. No officer could charge him. He is saying, I have no immunity anymore. I am standing in the only court that outranks me. Uriah cannot forgive him. Uriah is dead. If David's peace depended on the pardon of the man he murdered, he would never be free. So he goes to the only one with authority to release him. Then verse 5, I was brought forth in iniquity. He is not blaming his mother. He is saying the problem is older than this year. The rooftop revealed something. It did not create it, which is why the request in verse 10 is what it is. Create in me a clean heart, O God. The Hebrew verb is bara. In the entire Hebrew Bible, that verb never once has a human subject. Only God. It is the verb of Genesis chapter 1. Light out of darkness, something out of nothing. He does not ask God to repair his heart. He asks God to do inside his chest what God did to the empty universe. Then verse 11, and you can hear the fear in it. Take not your Holy Spirit from me. David had watched that happen once. He had stood in Saul's court and seen a king unravel after the Spirit left. He is not afraid of losing his throne. he is afraid of becoming Saul. And then the psalm says something a temple priest would find alarming. You do not delight in sacrifice, or I would give it. That is not poetry. That is law. The law had offerings for sins committed in ignorance, mistakes, accidents. But for sin with a high hand, deliberate, planned, defiant, there was no offering listed, none. For adultery and for murder, the law prescribed death, not a lamb. David is telling us he checked. There was nothing he could bring. No animal in Israel could buy this back, which leaves him one sentence, and it is the summit of the psalm. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart, O God, you will not despise. Both Hebrew words there are violent, shattered, crushed to powder. The altar has moved. The offering is no longer something he brings. The offering is what is left of him. So what was the fundamental problem with David? It was not that he was tempted. Every human being is. It was that he stopped inquiring. He saw and did not look away. He inquired, and not of the Lord. He took, because nothing on earth could stop him. And the mercy of this story is that the same man who did that is the man who wrote the prayer. Broken people have used for 3,000 years. Not because he got away with it. He did not. The sword stayed in his house for the rest of his life, but because when the prophet said, "You are the man," he did not argue. He agreed with God about himself, not the size of the sin, the direction of the heart when the sin is exposed. And there is one more thing. Out of that same house, a second son is born. His name is Solomon, and this boy will build the one thing his father was never allowed to build, a house for the name of God. Stone, gold, and cedar. 7 years of work. The temple David could only draw on paper, because there was blood on his hands. How do you build a holy place on a history like that? And what happens to a nation when its worship finally has an address? That is where we go next.